John's Gospel, chapter 13. And chapter 13 is set at the Last Supper on this Thursday. And if I can put it this way, John's Gospel knows that we know what Jesus did at the Last Supper. It particularly knows that we know that unprecedentedly he took bread and he broke the bread and he blessed it and he gave it to them and he said, "Take, eat, this is my body." And then he took the cup, the chalice of wine, and he gave thanks and he shared it and he said, "This is my blood of the new covenant, poured out for many. Drink this in remembrance of me." The writer of John's Gospel knows that we know Jesus did those things. And he knows that because he's writing for a church community that did those things in remembrance of Jesus Christ, just like us. This year, 2020, almost unprecedentedly, vast numbers of Christians across the world may not be able physically to gather and physically to eat and drink, but we know we do those things. We know we enter into that meal. We know we celebrate Eucharist. And we know that doing those things is what forms us. And we know that by the grace of God, we shall, in one another's presence, do those things again. Christ lovingly commanded us. Another word for command is mandate, in Latin mandatum, and that's why some traditions and some countries know today not just as Holy Thursday, but as Maundy, or Mandate Thursday. But eating and drinking, the bread and the wine that he said were his body and his blood, is not the only mandate Christ gave on this day. John's Gospel wants to drive home the other mandate too, and that too is a mandate that we are urged to obey, urged to enter into with all our heart. And the other mandate is this: to love one another. Christ says at the Last Supper on Holy Thursday, "I give you a new commandment, love one another. Just as I've loved you, you are to love one another." John's Gospel insists that if we know and if we fervently honour the command to eat and drink Christ's body and blood, and if we therefore always celebrate his Eucharist, and it forms us and it moulds us, then equally we are to know and fervently to honour his command to love, his command mutually and unfeignedly to love, so that both commands, gladly obeyed, will mould us and form us to be the church that is his body here on earth. When did Jesus give that new commandment? I could say that he gave it immediately after he'd shocked them. Even as they were perplexed and at the same time moved by his unprecedented actions and words with bread and wine, they were then shocked by his unprecedented actions and words with a towel and a basin of water. He did what a domestic does. He did what a servant does. He washed their feet. And that was beneath him, Peter thought, and so did the rest. Peter protested, but Jesus said, "I must and I will. If you are to remain part of me, and if I'm to remain part of you, this is what I must do, and this is what I will do." And so he washed the feet of them all. And then, back at table, he said, "Do you understand what I've done?" And what he meant was this: I've called you to do the same. Never are Christian disciples to think that service is beneath them. Never are we to think that at all. And in many churches, the washing of feet is today symbolically acted out to remind us. Then Christ said, "This too is glory." After he'd washed the feet, and after he'd said, "Do you understand what I've done to you and for you and with you?" he said, "This too is glory." And finally, he said, "Others will see what you do. Others will see how you see me and how you see yourselves. And if they see that you honour me and share with me by serving one another, just as much as by eating and drinking in remembrance of me, and if they see that you dare to call me servant, just as much as you call me Lord, then they will know what it is to be a disciple." Could there be a more powerful evangelism? Could there be a more powerful telling and doing of God's news for the world? Could there be anything more formative and more converting than when Christians and the church gladly obey the twin mandates, when they faithfully fulfill the twin commands? Here to end with are two verses from a 20th century hymn, "Love is his word, love is his way." Love is his mark, love is his sign, bread for our strength, wine for our joy. This is my body, this is my blood. Love, only love is his sign. Love is his name, love is his law. Hear his command, all who are his. Love one another. I have loved you. Love, only love, is his law.